For the third time over the last 2 weeks, Chinese and Philippine forces have faced down each other's vessels, resulting in a collision and accusations from both sides. The Chinese Coast Guard vessel 5205 and the Philippine Coast Guard vessel BRP Teresa Magbanyo were involved in today's altercations. No injuries were reported to personnel, but the Philippines released pictures of a hole in its Coast Guard vessel, and several dents they said were caused by the deliberate actions of the Chinese vessel. Tensions continue to be high between China and the Philippines, focusing on the region around Sabina Shoal, a small rock outcrop in the Spratly Islands, approximately 85 miles west of the Philippine province of Palawan. Internationally, it is recognized as in the Philippine Sea, while China also lays claim to the area, rejecting international declarations. Since April 2024, the Philippines has been maintaining a presence in the area, which is east of Second Thomas Shoal, which has been the previous area of contention. The Philippines asserts that China was planning on building an outpost on Sabina Shoal, while the Chinese assert the Philippines does not have a right to be in the area. Last week, China filed an international protest, citing approximately 5 months of Philippine presence in the region. According to the reports, today's incident began after the Philippine Coast Guard cutter Teresa Magbanyo, a 320-foot cutter, which is also the largest in the Philippine fleet, raised anchor and began maneuvering in the disputed region. The vessel has been anchored in the area since April. The Chinese Coast Guard detected the movement of the Philippine vessel and placed its vessels in the area to block the Philippines. China issued a statement after the incident saying it had made repeated warnings to Teresa Magbanyo. The Chinese said the vessel was maneuvering and acted in an unprofessional and dangerous manner. They assert the Philippines vessel deliberately collided with the Chinese Coast Guard vessel 5205. The Philippines released a series of videos to back up its accusations that it was the Chinese who were the aggressors. In a briefing, the Philippines presented its case asserting the Chinese vessel approached Teresa Magbanyo and carried out a series of dangerous maneuvers. They claimed the Chinese Coast Guard was crowding the vessel, resulting in the first collision. They assert the Chinese vessel 5205 turned around and reached the other side of the Philippine vessel, again colliding, and then maneuvered and deliberately rammed the Philippine vessel. The Philippines seems to be asserting there were 3 or 4 collisions during today's altercation before both sides withdrew. The incident took place at midday local time and was followed by the statements and accusations from both sides. The U.S. ambassador quickly issued a new statement of support for the Philippines and condemned the actions of the Chinese Coast Guard vessel. It was the third altercation in August, with the Philippines also accusing the Chinese of ramming their vessel on August 19. Last week, they asserted the Chinese rammed a Philippine vessel, used a siren and horn, and water cannons. The Philippines contends it was conducting humanitarian missions to bring supplies to its fishermen in the waters of Sabina Shoal. Last week, the Philippine Coast Guard vessels withdrew, and the resupply was conducted days later with a helicopter. The Philippines and China came to an agreement for the resupply of the Coast Guard vessel at Second Thomas Shoal. However, the Chinese have repeatedly demanded that the Philippines immediately withdraw BRP Teresa Magbanyo from Sabina Shoal. Last week, the Philippines said it has no intention of removing its vessel. Today's altercation between the Chinese and the Philippines came as Japan was also protest Chinese incursions. Japan filed a formal protest saying Chinese vessels had entered Japan's territorial waters, and that a Chinese aircraft also entered Japan's airspace. The Chinese denied the Japanese claims, saying it has no intention to violate any country's airspace.